Hi folks, and welcome to the Meaningful Money Podcast. This is session number 333. What a pleasing number. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you put your finances in order. My name is Pete Matthew, and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to secure your financial future. I'm here to help you make sense of money. Hello, how are you doing? Great to have you with me once again. Now, last week I teased a little bit that I would be having Tom Bakery, a previous guest on the show, that Tom would be coming back. Tom's been a little bit unwell though, so we've not been able to make that happen, but I'm hoping still to do that before the end of August and before the new season starts in September. So get well soon, Tom. Hope to speak to you very soon. So I've just moved the order around and moved the schedule around a little bit. And so today I'm chatting with Dave Sawyer, author of a book called Reset. Now, a few of you have mentioned the book to me and asked me to get Dave on, so your wish is my command, folks. So Dave's book, Reset, has received high praise from none other than Monevator and also Brad from ChooseFI. I'm chatting with Brad and Jonathan too in a couple of weeks. So this book comes very well recommended. I've read it and it is excellent. So you'll find out more about it in the conversation with Dave. So as usual, after I've chatted with Dave Sawyer, I'll look at a review that's been left, announce what we're talking about next week, and stuff like that. Before all that, though, remember, this podcast continues to be brought to you with with the help of my friends at 7 Investment Management. Funny how you say things so many times and they just get mixed around in your mouth. So 7IM have been helping me out here since the spring of 2011. I'm really, really grateful to them for continuing to support Meaningful Money. Please do check what they are up to. They're at 7im.co.uk. That's the number 7im.co.uk. Also, don't forget the Meaningful Money branded self-investment platform. If you're looking to invest for the future, it's a great place to start. Everything you need to know is at meaningfulmoney.tv/podcastinvest. meaningfulmoney.tv/podcastinvest for more info on all that. Right. Let's get straight into the conversation with Dave Sawyer. We talk a little bit about lifestyle design, the interplay between minimalism and the FIRE movement, and lots of other stuff besides. So remember, notes and links, all that good stuff, it's at the show notes, which is the only link you need to remember. meaningfulmoney.tv/session333. meaningfulmoney.tv/session333. Here's my conversation with Dave Sawyer. Well, this is going to be fun. And it's probably overdue, like so many of these interviews I'm doing on the in-between episodes here. It's my joy and pleasure to welcome David Sawyer, who is founder of Zood PR, director of Zood PR, and author of a book called Reset, which I want to talk about today. Dave, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on. Really nice to meet you. We've had a few chats, haven't we? But it's nice to meet you finally.
You were extremely proactive on that, which kind of figures, being a PR guy.
A PR man, yeah.
but it was great. It was lovely to make your acquaintance because we launched our books round about the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, I think you were a month after me.
Right. Okay, yeah. So we've had a bit of banter back and forth about numbers of reviews and stuff. Sort of consoled each other over the process of writing a book and stuff. But let's start with who you are, what it is you're up to and how you got to this point, David.
Right. So I'm David Sawyer. I'm 46. I'm, as you've said, a PR man. And I went into PR from journalism back in, 1997. And worked my way up and joined the world's biggest PR company. And after maybe 7 years there, I was promoted to head of the Glasgow office of this big global PR company, which was great. Then I had kids, and most of my job was board meetings, keeping big clients happy, less and less about the actual doing of PR, I guess.
Yeah, often the way.
And more in my personal life about, running kids around and life revolving around other people, I guess. So I got to 2012 and I was sort of thinking, this is all very well. And I'm on a stack load of money and got a lovely house, 2 cars, cleaner, this, that, and the other.
Cleaner. Truly the heights
cleaner.
of success. Yeah.
Yes. But I don't know, was I happy? Probably, I was all right, but not that happy. And I was just searching around for thinking there must be more to life than this, I guess. So then 3 things happened to me. I got beaten at squash by one of my staff. That was the first thing. The second thing was my brother rang me up and said, do you want to do a marathon? And third thing was I was at Centre Parks, the dreaded Centre Parks.
I don't know.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right, okay, sorry.
That's all right. My kids are older.
Yeah, well, I love it, but I sort of love to hate it.
Yeah,
and I've been there about 10 times, and eventually you think there have to be other places to go on holiday.
There certainly are.
So anyway, I was going for a wee jog around Centre Parks with a friend of mine, and she said, well, why don't you get into running? And I sort of said, well, I don't know if I should really, because I'm so busy, I just don't have time. And when I do things, I like to really get into them. So anyway, I took up running, and that was a real game changer for me. I started getting into it, started experimenting with different ideas, would nutrition help, running fast, really seeing the benefits of hard work in an area of my life. And I guess, although I was very outwardly confident, you have to be running a sort of fairly big profit center. Maybe, it increased my confidence internally. So then I jacked in my job and set up my own business. I then spent the year basically brushing up and changing my PR skills, working 8 hours a day, reading, meeting people, because PR was changing and my practice had to. And now I was selling just my services, and my skills such as managing teams weren't really in demand anymore. I had to get much better at my core practice. Then I discovered productivity, SEO, email marketing. I was selling these services now, but also practicing on my own business. And then, just by chance, from getting friendly with a big SEO guy in the States, he was setting up his own business, and he said, well, I want the tone of voice of my new business to be something between Tim Urban, Wait But Why, and Mr. Money Mustache.
Okay.
So anyway, I really liked this. I thought, who are these two people? So that's where it all really started for me in 2015. I discovered Mr. Money Mustache, discovered financial independence. So that was it was running that sort of kicked it off. Then leaving my job, setting up on my own, supercharged things. But it was really, like many people into financial independence, discovering Mr. Money Mustache.
Yes, he's quite the prime mover, isn't he?
Well, he is. I've got to know a little bit you and various guys in the personal finance sector, and also, that's in the UK, and also bloggers in the financial independence movement in the UK. And really, we're all saying similar things, but just in a different voice. Yeah. And some of us are more consistent in terms of output than others. And, he was at the time, he blogged quite regularly. He had a huge following, he had a forum. By 2017, he was getting, I think it's in April 2017, in that 1 month, he was getting 8.8 million website hits on his website in a month.
Serious
so
numbers. People
just engage with his voice, his writing style, and the topics that he was melding this mishmash, which is what financial independence is, of sort of, if you view it through a political lens, right wing and left wing ideas into a coherent way of living your life.
So, it's a Reset then. Your book, Reset, which came out last year, is what your contribution to the financial independence, retire early space, but obviously with the UK slant. I mean, I'm describing that. You may describe it differently. But what was the prompt for you to add to the increasing weight of information in this space?
The prompt was, I read a blog post back in early 2015, And it was a bit of a listicle, 10 ways to self-publish your book in 2015. And I'd always thought, maybe I've got a book in me, but I always thought, well, I just haven't got the time. I can't do it. I've got my day job. And I had the impression that people make absolutely no money from writing books, which is, in fact, the correct impression.
Absolutely. Sounds right to me.
But I'd looked at it and I thought, well, there are quite a lot of side benefits here. You know, it increases your influence, increases your profile. You get a big spike in your email subscribers, and there are all sorts of benefits. And also, obviously, if you write a book, you go on such an amazing journey, if you like, and it's something you can be proud of for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
So I looked at it and I thought, well, you know, not at the moment, but I'll park that. But I started thinking about book titles and I thought, right, well, what have I done? I couldn't think of anyone else really in Scotland, maybe in the UK, that had transformed their PR practice in such a short space of time. And back in 2014, all this, you know, blogging, email newsletters, SEO, it was much more interesting than it is now, because people were writing new things. There were new tools coming out. There was all sorts of communities that were just blossoming that you could get involved with. So it was quite an exciting time. So I thought I could write a book, a business card book, which would be something like, you know, How to Conquer Your Digital Fear, a handbook for senior PR people. So that would cement my standing in the PR community in the UK, and also be good to turn up to client meetings, because they'd be thinking, well, I'm getting someone who's really at the top of their game, etc. And obviously it'd be a really helpful book, but, you know, it'd be a business card book.
It's quite a business card, man. We're not 300 odd pages here.
Well, yeah, but
hefty.
This is different. So that one was what I thought. And then I put together a proposal on that book and sent it out to, I don't know, 15 friends, family, people like that. And what I got back was, well, actually, the stuff you're writing about in your newsletter, the stuff that's really interesting is not the PR stuff. It's the stuff about purpose and meaning and vision, all this stuff from the US that we're not getting anywhere else in this country. Because I issue a curated newsletter every Thursday evening with my take on the content that I'm sharing, if you like. So that made me think. Then I got a couple of big contracts and I popped out of them in April 2017. And I just thought, right, it's now or never. So I spent 6 months, well, maybe 6 months, 4 to 6 months while doing client work, but resetting my family's life. So the big ticket items were decluttering the house, which is massive if you do it properly, and also sorting out all the finances, which again is a huge task. So various other things.
Is that the core message of the book then? That it's, you know, the title is Reset. Is it sort of just looking at everything and saying, right, you know, what needs to stop, what needs to continue, what needs refining? Is that the core message, or is there more to it than that? Yeah,
I mean, the book is for midlife professionals, albeit anyone at any age can benefit from the advice in my book. But it's essentially aimed at someone like me in 2012, who's outwardly very successful, but, you know, stuck in a rut and shouldn't accept, just because these things are first world problems, shouldn't be accepting that actually what's in them, their life unlived, if you like, what's in them trying to get out, shouldn't just be submerged for the next 20 years because that's the way everyone else does it. You know, so it's about grabbing hold of your life, working out what you want and what your family wants, and then coming up with an intentional plan for the second half of your life, which will make you a bit happier and see you reach financial independence a few years earlier.
So you major on, well, it's a whole section. You've got 1, 2, 3, 5 sort of core parts of the book.
Yeah.
Part 2 it's called Going Digital: How to Future-Proof Your Career. So why is this something that you emphasized? Obviously, it's because you've done that yourself. How big a deal is that, going forward into 2020 and beyond?
You don't have to do that.
Okay.
You could do everything else in this book and leave that alone. Some people won't be comfortable about it. Some people don't like putting themselves out there like you or I. Some people, especially in the financial independence community, and I think this has come from Mr. Money Mustache, really, have a pseudonym and feel more comfortable blogging anonymously. Yeah. And that's all fine. However, I think nowadays, going back to basics, there's a Gallup poll done every year. It's worldwide of hundreds of thousands of people they survey. And pretty much consistently, it comes out that 16% of people hate their jobs and 87% of people either hate or are disengaged at work. They hate their jobs or they're disengaged at work. So only 13% of us like our jobs.
Not great, is it?
It's not great. It's a really damning statistic. And there's other studies that sort of back that up. And in addition, 85% of people in the UK, 90% in America are salaried. So, you've got all your eggs in one basket. So you're dependent on the company you work for advancement. My idea, and obviously there's miles more benefits than this, i.e. if you commit to using digital communications methods, you'll learn a load more. You'll stop being a specialist and you'll become more of a generalist, which I believe is a good thing. You'll work just through blogging, writing an email newsletter yourself as well, doing podcasts. You learn so much. You're meeting new people all the time, new influences. It's amazing for you in terms of personal development.
Sure is.
But also, Google talks about 0 moments of truth. So the idea is that if someone Googles you want 8 to 12 reference points. Or another way of looking at it is if you're trying to sell yourself, which everyone is, or your services, it takes 8 to 12 touch points before you're really getting a foot in the door. So for me, going digital and using digital communication is an absolute must. First, because I sell those services, but second, because I run my own business. And if I'm not online, I may as well not exist. Now, salaried people do not need to do this, but long term, they're going to de-risk their lives, de-risk their careers, and increase their earning potential. And if you follow, I think there's 25 steps in that section on going digital. Yep. If you follow those, your life will blossom.
I agree, obviously, and it's I think this is what perhaps differentiates your book from some of the other messages in this space. And it was one of the guys on ChooseFI, wasn't it, that described Reset as the best financial independence book that he'd read. Is that right?
Yeah, it was
quite an endorsement.
But a month in advance of launching, I started sending advance review copies out. And the guy that helped my book translates the US financial independence movement, among other things, to a UK context. And the guy that had really helped me do that was Monevator.
Oh, yeah.
And particularly the investor.
All hail the investor.
Yeah, he's just amazing. So I got in touch with him, and eventually he read the book. And that's what Brad, the co-host at ChooseFI, read out. He read out the book blurb that Monevator had given me. When Monevator wrote this, I thought, yeah, that's what the book is. I hadn't realized. So he read out this quote. It's hidden in plain sight within the 300 pages of Reset is an elegant synthesis of the latest thinking in financial independence, lifestyle design, and age-old philosophical wisdom, cunningly disguised as a breezy pep talk from your witty mate down the pub. In a world that's forever racing past us on a screen, it's a reminder of the potentially life-changing power of a book.
I praise indeed.
There have been two drop off the chair moments, I guess. That receiving that quote from Monevator and Brad saying that, when I did the ChooseFI podcast that I think airs at the end of August.
What is it, do you think, that is causing the FIRE movement to gain so much traction here in the UK now? It feels like it's really starting to move. And in this sort of season of in-between episodes, I'm talking to the Escape Artist, and I'm talking to the guys at ChooseFI. So as I'm recording, I've spoken to Barney, the Escape Artist. I haven't yet spoken to the ChooseFI guys. So I'd just be interested on your take. What do you perceive are the reasons why it seems to be suddenly gaining so much traction? Or maybe it isn't sudden. Maybe it just feels sudden to me and you've got a different view on it.
To be honest, I can't put my finger on it, but I can sort of, I'd agree with what you say. So Mr. Money Mustache, I think he started in about 2012. Before him, there was Jacob Lunt-Fisker, Early Retirement Extreme, and Vicky Robin wrote the classic book. You probably read it, Your Money or Your Life. Mm-hmm. And they talk about, she has a concept called life energy, which is brilliant. Anyway, now in the States, there's about 2,000 financial independence bloggers. Right. It's unbelievable the size of the movement. And I think I'm right in saying it's gone from hundreds of thousands to 1 million. Certainly in the States, 1 in 50 people now have heard of the term financial independence. Over here, no one's heard of it. No. You know, really. If I asked everyone in my local neighborhood, no one would know about it and no one would know about him. But there's been some really good work done by Monevator. Yeah, you know, he's over time. And the Accumulator, his sort of co-blogger, is really good on financial independence. He's more on investing, but the way he writes, I feel it connects with me just like Mr. Money Mustache does. That is a good voice for me. But then there's people who've outed themselves, if you like the Escape Artist.
Barney, he was saying that. Yeah.
Now he's financially independent in his 40s, so he does spend time promoting the movement, appearing on BBC and things like that, which I think is fantastic because it just gets word out. Plus, there's a guy called Ken, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but the Humble Penny, he's very good. But then there's maybe 8 or 10 really good bloggers, financial independence bloggers in the UK that I like, such as Indeedably, Young FI guy. It's a guy called Cashflow Cop. There's even a podcast, the Financial Independence Europe podcast. I think they get about 2,000 downloads a show, but that's still quite underground. When it first came to prominence for me was back in September last year, when you had the Times, Telegraph, all in 1 week. And there was no rhyme or reason to it, all featuring financial independence. Moneybox have featured it, and there was a cracking article in The Guardian in about November last year where the guy really, really got it and didn't just focus on, software engineers on 100 grand who retire in their 30s. Right. Because my book, I wanted my book to be for everybody. I don't financially, the media tend to focus on the outliers because that's what the media do.
Yeah, sure.
But financial independence is a movement that I think can benefit everyone.
It's I find it very encouraging. The more it's on people's radar and the more it's touted as actually a realistic option. Obviously, it takes sacrifice, and there are many shades of it as well. There's as you likely it's a political spectrum, but there's plenty of shades of grey in between the sort of full-on extreme. You can be financially independent by the time you're 35 or whatever. To some slightly more diluted versions, but the general trajectory is the same. I find it encouraging just that it seems to be on the map, and there seems to me to be something of a confluence between financial independence, lifestyle design, digital nomadhood, minimalism. Would you agree that these things tend to sort of speak to each other? And do you see that sort of continuing?
Yeah, I think financial independence and lifestyle design is sort of one and the same thing. But people would probably be much more familiar with, even though it's a sort of US term, with that term lifestyle design. And it's probably a term that financial planners would use a lot more, because financial independence to some people does seem a bit hair-shirt, and that does put people off, even though you can do it that way. I mean, Jacob Lunt-Fisker, he retired really early, but by living on mung beans. But
Yes, not an
I've got a
attractive
family.
position. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
and so you've got to. I mean, you've got to come up with your own brand
Yeah,
of financial independence.
design your own lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Now, minimalism, that's about having less stuff intentionally and maybe a little bit about rejecting consumerism. It's not about being tight with your money or anything. So, a minimalist, for instance, would buy a fantastic frying pan that would last them 20 years because they don't want to be replacing it all the time. And probably if you get a frying pan that's going to last you 20 years, it creates less waste, etc., etc. So financial independence, why that fits is because financial independence for me is all about just, it's efficiency. So that would be from knowing where everything is in your house, which tends to happen when you physically declutter your house, to putting your car keys in the same place when you come in from work, so you're not wasting time. It's about having a clear mind, and if you have less possessions, they're not in control of you anymore, and you can see through all the clutter around you and follow that intentional plan that we talked about earlier, that following financial independence is all about.
You mentioned that really financial planners do talk about this stuff. I'm not sure we talk about it enough, particularly not that particular phrase, lifestyle design. Now, we're kind of alluding to it. Obviously, a good financial planner will help a client sort of identify and then articulate their goals through decent questioning and coaching skills and stuff like that. But I actually quite like the phrase lifestyle design. I think that's powerful. Whereas, like you say, financial independence potentially could be misunderstood as being a sort of more ascetic approach to it, a little hair shirt, as you call it.
I mean, there's different brands of as you said, of the financial independence movement. There's people, there's lean fire. These are terms I've only come across over the last year, to be honest, and fat fire. So lean fire in the UK for a family might be about, a couple might be about 625 grand, whereas fat fire may be 1.1, 1.2 million.
Okay.
The number that I outline for me, and I'm suggesting in my book based on various things, is 855 grand.
Okay.
So that's living a comfortable lifestyle with foreign holidays, but not, transatlantic flights and a yacht.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, not a private jet or anything. Okay. I wonder, do you think that there is a place for the financial services world, so that the obviously the advice profession, but the providers of financial products, do you think there is any chance of some synergy between them and the FIRE movement? And do you see it happening? And what form might that take?
So the financial services world. So if you think of the FIRE movement, say there's tens of thousands of people in the UK. They're just normal people.
Yep.
I mean, I live in a 4-bed terraced house. I've got a wife, 2 kids, age 8 and 11. We're just, if you think of them as normal people with normal aspirations, but perhaps just want to be grasp the concept of financial independence and want to hit their number a bit earlier than they otherwise would have.
Yeah.
So I use Money Dashboard, I use Free Agent, I use Vanguard, I use Fidelity. I've got a bank account with Starling, business bank account with Nationwide. These are all financial services providers. Someone mentioned the other day, and I had actually seen the advert, that there was a Santander advert with Ant and Dec. Now, when I set the price of my Kindle, because I'm self-published, I can do this, I set it at $2.95, which is the price of a small latte at my favourite service station, T-Bay Services. Okay. So my idea is, do you want a life-changing book, or do you just want to buy another one of these lattes? I think Ant and Dec were doing something that we're talking about the price of a latte. And it seemed quite a financially independent type mindset that would appeal to. So I guess the way the financial services world could appeal to people in the financial independence movement is understanding the movement and then working out, what appeals to them. On the flip side, this is maybe where it wouldn't work if you're talking about financial advisors and financial planners. So the ethos of the financial independence movement is very much do it yourself.
Yep.
So you research the life out of something, you get really comfortable, you work out all the basics, but you get into the detail as well. Then you set and forget for most of the time. Now, I think you say in your book that there are certain times in life where you would benefit from a financial planner, but the one real time where everyone would benefit is just before retirement. So I was then thinking, on an everyday basis, everyone can benefit from chatting through their goals and what they want to achieve out of life and how to invest, tax, insurance, all that stuff. I'm not saying people wouldn't benefit from talking with an advisor, but it would be anathema to many of them because they'd want to do it themselves from, listening to your podcast, reading books, blogs, etc. There is one instance. So people who fire, financial independence, retire early, they say fire when you become financial independent. People who fire early, so say in their early 40s, well, they can't get their pension till at the moment till they're 55, but as they go on till 57. So I would think that some of them might benefit because that's quite a niche audience, but they would benefit from speaking to a financial planner, I would think.
I think so too. There's an increasing amount of science going behind about how to optimize investment and spending patterns in retirement, to try and navigate the potential impact of rocky markets, all that sort of stuff. So there's lots of interesting stuff going on there. I've had a guy called Abraham Okasanya on the podcast, wrote a book called Beyond the 4% Rule.
Yeah, it's superb.
It is an outstanding book. I've read it 2-3 times now. Interesting. I think I can hear in the background, I imagine it's not being picked up on the mic, but it's a little bit distracting. I've got one of the movement about the environment and everything, and the kids striking on a Friday. They're now marching past my window.
I could hear something, actually. I thought it was your kids or something.
Dog bark in the background or whatever. It's not too loud, so we're okay. I think you've written a great book, there's no question, and it's both a really good overview, but sufficiently detailed. I mean, more than sufficient detail. I think it's beautifully detailed and instructive when it needs to be. So it's quite an achievement, really.
Thanks.
Now, what's next? The book's done. What's next for you?
A few things are still coming out of the book. So I do one-to-one reset coaching.
Cool.
So the idea is that you come and meet me and you get a free copy of the book, of course, but also can chat through any aspect of the book as it pertains to your life. And it's really people who've really, really connected with the book but still have questions. I'm also putting out an audio book.
Marvelous.
Next month, should be by the end of July. So I'm really excited about that. So I narrated it myself and did it at a local recording studio. So that's been cracking.
Yeah, I love the process of doing mine.
Oh, it was great, isn't it? And I'm back to the day job as well. So I run a company. It's just resolutely me called Zood PR, which is named after my kids, Zach and Jude. So I do what I've done for many years, public relations, but traditional media relations, but also over the last 5 years, I've obviously become and retrained myself as a digital PR. So I offer services such as websites, email marketing, and SEO, that sort of thing. Cool. So that all keeps me busy.
Yeah, sure. So where can people find out more about that, David?
My company website is Zood PR, ZUDEPR. My Twitter is @ZoodPR. People can find me on LinkedIn, David Sawyer. But the best way to keep in touch is to sign up to my curated email newsletter every Thursday. It's a really good way of keeping in touch. So that's zoodpr.co.uk/reset. And of course, I would be delighted if you went on to Amazon and bought my book.
It's good value, man. Well, look, Dave, great to have you on. It's like I said at the beginning, it's overdue, really. So I appreciate your patience waiting for me. But it's been great fun talking to you. Wishing you all the best with the book and the audio book, which should be out by the time this episode goes out. I'm batching a little bit because I'm about to go on holiday. But wishing you all the very best with that. Keep in touch, man, and all the links and you know, to the newsletter and to your Twitter and everything will obviously be in the show notes. David, thanks for joining me, man. It's been great.
Thanks, Pete. Great talking.
Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you to Dave for coming on. If you've got any questions for Dave about Reset or anything else, then the show notes is the place to do that. meaningfulmoney.tv/session333. Dave and I, we talked about his audiobook briefly towards the end of the conversation there. I've spoken to Dave since recording that. He assures me that it's imminent. It's not quite out yet. This is going out 7th of August, 2019. Hopefully within a week or two after that, the audiobook will be out. So I'll make sure I add a link to the show notes when it's available. Okay, but I imagine you may be able to go onto Audible and pre-order. I don't know. But I'll make sure that there is a link to it as soon as I've got it. Okay? So my thanks again to David for coming on. Okay, review from Nutri-Jane, a podcast to change how you think about money. Jane says, I set myself a New Year's resolution to get my finances tightened up, find out how best to invest, and was looking for a podcast to help me along. Pete is definitely the man for the job. Thank you, Jane. His podcast is engaging, his manner approachable, and his attitude to the subject is fun. Let's face it, this stuff is usually dry, dull, and could bore the pants off most people. Is it possible to bore the pants off people? Let's not dwell on that mental image too often, but I get your point, Jane. Everyone needs the Meaningful Money podcast on their radar. It's great stuff. Thanks, Pete. Really appreciate your help so far. Nutri-Jane, thank you so much. I'm really glad it's been useful for you. Please keep listening. Please keep telling everybody you know. You know, I appreciate your help by leaving me that review. And if you want to do that, folks, if this stuff is helpful for you, wherever you are listening to me, please leave a review if you can. meaningfulmoney.tv/iTunes if you are of an Apple persuasion, but otherwise, wherever you can leave a review, please do. Okay, right, next week, I'm going to be chatting with Andrew Owen. Now, Andrew is author of How to Own the World, right? It's another guest by popular request, right? So How to Own the World, great book. Looking forward to bringing you my conversation with him. Remember, any questions that you want answering here on the show, you can always just go to the website, meaningfulmoney.tv/askpete to leave any questions. 5 Minute Friday will return, by the way, just going a little bit easier on myself this summer. So that will return in due course. Okay, so I think part of the reason why I said going easy on myself, I'm not really. Been putting a lot of energy into Meaningful Academy and getting that up and running. The founders are in there giving me feedback about the launch on the Financial Foundations phase of the Academy. So lots going on there as well. So 5 Minute Friday has taken a little bit of a backseat, but it will be back before too long. So that's it, folks, for this week. So I'll bring the music up and say thank you for joining me once again. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with David Sawyer. meaningfulmoney.tv/session333 is where all the links and stuff are. So definitely check that out. And if you happen to be listening and fancy watching the video, that is there too. Thank you so much, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.